Welcome to today's tutorial. Today's tutorial is about lighting design. What goes through the mind of a photographer when he's creating a lighting schematic? How can he deal with a difficult subject? How can he deal with a mundane subject? How can he make a mundane subject look sexy? And how can he make a difficult subject really pop? One of the interesting things about being a professional photographer is you don't always get to photograph a Louis Vuitton bag or a bottle of Chanel No. 5 or even a Rolex wristwatch. Sometimes you have to photograph something as simple as a screw or a drill bit. Now, as a photographer professionally, I think that Manfrotto super clamps are the cat's meow. I think that extension arms for Manfrotto super clamps are really cool accessories to have and to be able to use. At the same time, if you look at a picture of any of these items in a catalog, a camera catalog, you'll see that they're presented to you as a straight bar. It looks like you're spending $29 for a piece of wire. But one of the things about being a professional photographer and handling something creatively is that you can show off the special attributes of a product and you can make it more interesting than it really is. It's sort of like smoke and mirrors. You're going to cloak it in mystery or shadow or bright lights and hot spots, but you're going to turn around and make something which looks like a piece of black corrugated cardboard into something that looks really interesting. What I've done, instead of showing these items as flat items, is I curved them to an interesting curve. I've shown that they're crossing each other in the way I've arranged them, and I put them each into a Manfrotto super clamp. What we're going to do now is we're going to start developing a lighting design for this product shot that will really accentuate what the product can do and accentuate the attributes of these particular products. Let's go. Now that I've arranged these items in what I consider to be an interesting arrangement, my next step is to figure out how to show off what these items actually do. And one of the things that dawned on me was you could actually position a light on either of these two studs or even this one that could be used maybe to light the products themselves in the photograph. That way you could show off the fact that that a light could be placed on them. So what I decided to do was I was going to mount a light here and actually have it bend down here and have it light this other arm as part of my photograph. I took a Nikon SB800, I mounted a stud on the bottom of it, and then I mounted it to a Norman swivel bracket. It's just because I had the Norman ones laying around my studio. And then I placed it on this arm right here, and I tighten the screw and lock it down. Now, this flash is going to be lighting this arm. Also, because I want it to actually look like it's flashing, I'm going to try to work out an exposure for this light by changing the power output of this flash manually after I choose an f-stop that I want to work at. So I'll take a let's say I want to work at f11. I'll figure out that maybe this is 1/64th power or 1/32nd power. And I'll keep looking at the back of my digital camera until I have this light being ever so slightly overexposed. I figured out that at 64th power from this flash unit, at f10 at ISO 200, this little diffusion cap is a hair overexposed. So what I'm going to do now is that exposure locks in my f-stop and the power setting for this flash unit. Now I'm going to place another flash with a shoot-through umbrella on the opposite side of the set. You'll be able to see it when we do a pullback shot. But that'll be the next step in working out the lighting design for this photograph. Because of the of the fact that the subjects are not specular, they're not mirror-like. I just need a soft light source as opposed to something that gives a smoother reflection. So I've decided to use a small shoot-through umbrella. But as we know, a lot of light spills off the edge of an umbrella, and you can actually see that light spilling off here onto the background. You see the spill? All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Manfrotto or a Bogan multi-clip, and I'm going to clip it onto the side of my light. And then I'm going to use a piece of aluminum barn door that I had specially made, but you could use a piece of mat board just as easily. And then I'm going to take some Lee black foil. This is a heavy-duty aluminum foil. It's about 3 or 4 times the thickness of regular aluminum foil, and it's anodized black, and it's very helpful for making flags and gobos and all kinds of things on a cinema or a photography set. And I'm going to take this piece of Lee black foil, I'm going to tape it to the top of my light head, and then I'm going to use a ordinary wooden clothespin to clamp it, to clip it to the umbrella. And by the way, I punched some holes in the Lee black foil with a pen so that they fit over the spokes of the umbrella. And now I'm going to turn the light all the way around just so you can see what I'm going to do to the other side of it. And I'm going to take another piece of black foil and I'm going to put it overlapping the first piece that I put on previously. And again, I'm going to clothespin it to the sides of my umbrella. I'm basically closing in parts of this umbrella. Now I'm going to position the light, and we're going to take another photograph so you'll be able to see what happens when we add this second light to the other side of the picture. So I have this light in the scene and lighting this side of the subject. And I have this umbrella with the shield on it, with the flag on it that stops it from bouncing onto the background, lighting this side of the subject. But now I'm going to but that means that this side of the picture has a lot of energy because of the flash, but the other side of the picture doesn't have the same amount of energy, because it's sort of dark and a bit somber. So I'm going to take a third light, another flash head, and I'm going to put a 10-degree grid on it. A grid is like a piece of honeycomb material that cuts the angle of the light. And then I'm going to place this light on a sandbag beneath my subjects so that it shines onto the background. Once that's done, I think I have this picture pretty close to complete. Okay. It's 3 hours after I thought I had the final picture finished. The more I looked at the final picture, the more I came up with a list of things that I wanted to correct. When it comes to still life photography, you have to be your own harshest critic. You have to sit there and look at your picture critically and decide if there are areas that you don't like or areas that you like, what you want to save, what you want to change, because if it's an inanimate object, it's not going anywhere. So you can always come back and reshoot it and refine your vision and refine what you're trying to say with your picture. It just so happens that before I was satisfied with this picture, in a period of time that took me 3 hours, I made about 6 or 7 changes to this picture. Just a few of them. No, I'll go over each one of them with you right now. The first thing is we added a fill card at the bottom front here. And that put a little bit of light onto the handles of the Manfrotto clamps and made them visible. After we did that, the same fill card added a real little touch of light to these steel washers here and here. And it made them more visible also, and added some life to the bottom of the picture. The second thing we did is we doubled the power of the SB800 because we wanted to see more detail here, and we wanted the SB800 flash cap to be right on the edge of flare, right on the edge of flare, but we wanted it to be really a strong light in the photograph. We then turned around and reversed the swivel, and the reason why we reversed the swivel was because we wanted to get this handle visible in the picture. That led us to realizing that this handle was hidden because it was flopped down and it didn't look good. So we put it up to match the angle of the front handle. After that handle was taken care of, we realized that this handle wasn't in the right direction either. It had standing straight up, and it actually blocked the front surface of the bogan of the Manfrotto clamp. So we adjusted the bottom handle. Then we went to a higher camera angle where I was taking the picture from, because by doing so, we would light the top surfaces of the Manfrotto clamps and we could see them. They were more visible. Finally, we changed the curve of the arm. We made it go out before we turned it around and brought it in. What we were trying to do here was we were trying to make it look more human and more sensuous and just generally more enticing. Finally, in Photoshop, I did an edge burn on the final print to darken the edges of the picture. I feathered the edge using the marquee tool, and then I refined the edges in the select tool. And by feathering the edges of the picture, I could darken the external areas of the picture to contain my viewer's eye. After that, I spent about 15 minutes looking at my computer monitor to make sure that I was happy with my final result. And I don't know if it's a matter of exhaustion or I actually did it, but I'm finally satisfied. The point is that when you think you're done with a still life photograph, you might not be. And you really might have to get mean and really look at your work very critically and make hard choices about things that you really want to change and that you're not happy with. The real trick is not giving up until you're really satisfied with what you get.